Most people think a liar can't look you in the eyes. They're wrong. In fact, professional liars will give you too much eye contact just to prove they aren't lying. You've been looking for the wrong signs your entire life. Therefore, you've been an easy target. But that ends right now. I'm going to show you how to see through the mask in less than 3 seconds using a technique that top-tier interrogators call the Limbic Hijack. Imagine you're sitting across from a business partner. You ask them a simple question about the budget. They smile. They look relaxed. But for a split second, less than the blink of an eye, their hand moves to their neck. You probably wouldn't even notice it. Therefore, you'd believe their lie. But that tiny movement is the sound of a structural collapse in their story. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was a recruiter for a high-end tech firm. She was interviewing a candidate who looked perfect on paper. He had the degrees, the experience, and the charisma. But Sarah noticed something strange. Every time she asked about his previous manager, the candidate's feet would point toward the exit. His face was saying, "I loved that job." But his feet were saying, "I need to run." This is the Lego principle of deception. Most people try to build a lie using words, but they forget that the body is the foundation. Therefore, if the words don't match the foundation, the whole house falls. You see, our brains are divided. The prefrontal cortex is the liar. It's the part that plans, calculates, and constructs the story you want people to hear. It's sophisticated, but it's slow. Behind it sits the limbic system. This is your honest brain. It's ancient, fast, and it reacts to stress before you even know you're feeling it. When someone tells a lie, their limbic system triggers a freeze, flight, or fight response. But because they are in a social setting, they can't actually run away. Therefore, the energy has to go somewhere. It leaks out in tiny 3-second windows. Think about a high-stakes poker game. The amateur player gets a huge hand and tries to act cool. He stares you down. But then, he unconsciously touches his nose or adjusts his glasses. This is a pacifying behavior. His brain is trying to calm itself down because of the adrenaline spike. But the pro knows this. Therefore, the pro wins the pot before the cards are even flipped. You can do the same in your daily life. To master this, you need the 3-second rule. Step 1 is the baseline. Most people jump straight to looking for tells. That's a mistake. Therefore, you must first observe how someone acts when they have no reason to lie. How do they blink? How fast do they talk? What is their resting hand position? Once you have the baseline, you introduce the stress test. This is step 2. You ask a direct, pointed question. Not an accusation, but a probe. Did you have anything to do with the missing file? Now the clock starts. 3, 2, 1. In these 3 seconds, the brain is processing the threat. If they are lying, they have to suppress the limbic response and activate the prefrontal cortex to build the cover story. This creates a hotspot. A hotspot is any deviation from the baseline. If they usually talk fast but suddenly slow down, that's a hotspot. If they usually keep their hands still but suddenly touch their ear, that's a hotspot. But here is the secret. One hotspot doesn't mean a lie. Therefore, you need a cluster. Think of it like a puzzle. One piece is just a shape. 3 pieces start to show a picture. I once saw a CEO get asked about a falling stock price during a live interview. He was a pro. He didn't blink. He didn't stutter. But as he started to answer, he slightly tilted his head and covered his suprasternal notch, the little dip at the base of the throat. This is one of the most honest parts of the human body. When we feel threatened, we protect it. He was telling the world everything was fine, but his hand was telling the world he was terrified. Therefore, the smart investors sold their shares that afternoon. A week later, the company filed for bankruptcy. They saw the 3-second window. You can apply this to your relationships, your job, and your social life. But remember, the goal isn't to become a cynic. The goal is to become unshakable. When you know the truth, you have the power. You don't have to argue. You don't have to get angry. You simply observe, analyze, and make your move. Therefore, the next time someone tells you something that feels off, don't listen to their words. Watch their hands. Watch their feet. Watch the way they shift their weight. The truth is always there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows how to look. Most people will go through their whole lives being played by experts, but you won't be one of them. You now have the blueprint. You have the 3-second rule. Use it wisely. If you want to master the rest of the human psychological code, hit the subscribe button. Now go watch the world and see what everyone else is missing.